Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Rick, and I have David and Grinch with me, and welcome back to yet another episode of West Coast Flagrancy. Before we get into it, we want to take a chance to thank our viewers for joining us, all five of you. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that young subscribe button at the bottom, free of charge. And you can always unsubscribe at any time. No hard feelings. Also, if you have noticed, we changed the colors to our logo in support of the Lakers. We're gonna win this Western Conference, and then we're gonna take the ring. I think LA as a whole, we need a win. After how 2020 has treated us, we need this damn win. Now with that out of the way, it's been kind of crazy out there. It's been a wild week today. Well,
Oh,
this week.
yes, it has, Rick. Yes, it has. It's unfortunate. We had the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Rest in peace to long-standing Supreme Court justice. We had Los Angeles ban the sale of all gas-powered combustion engine vehicles by 2035. Right? We are ahead of the curve on that for becoming more green to our environment. Um, we had Breonna Taylor's justice, so-called justice, served out. None of the officers were charged except one of them, just to be brief. Also, um, as the as these shutdowns and lockdowns go on, um, there have been people in the news calling for another stimulus check on a weekly basis. Right, every 2 weeks we receive $1,000 or something like that.
So essentially, an income.
Yes, essentially, that's on the horizon. Also, I want to remind everybody that um, in China, the Xinjiang province, there is still a systematic population control. Uh, I don't want to use the G word, but some would call it a genocide against the Uyghur Muslims. Just want to remind everybody that that is still going on in the Xinjiang province. And to top it all off, TikTok is still keeping its head above water. It has not been banned in the United States. Uh, it is just rolling with the punches, right? It's been delayed, I believe, for I think
Yeah, we'll
another.
see until Sunday. I mean, they filed an injunction, so we'll see what comes out of that. But I don't know. When I saw it, I was kind of not excited or not happy about it, but towards those feelings. I was like, all right, well,
Yes, it
we'll see
is.
what happens out of that.
Yes, TikTok. It is a very very popular, hella popular, right?
I
It
think it's the number one social media platform.
absolutely incredible how much it blew up in the last 5 years, right? Amongst young people, right? Um, and that's really like gonna be the major issue, our major point for today, right, Rick?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about
Just a little
the
bit.
movie, just a little bit, just a little bit, just like we do everything.
True.
Uh, about the social dilemma. For those that don't know what the social dilemma is, it's a documentary slash like drama hybrid on Netflix that was released back in January. Essentially, it's a movie that discusses the dangers of social networking and both the psychological and physical impact it has on us. It features several tech experts who were in the industry or still are, and go through various issues with social networking, including our addiction to it, the way advertisement and notifications kind of influence our way of thinking and decision making, and how, in a sense, makes us question our self worth, which consequently has had an impact on the rate of self harm and suicide among young teenagers. Um, my first impression of this movie was because it was recommended to me by a friend, and I watched it, and there was nothing new to me just because of how I am with social media. Um, those, if anybody watched the first episode, we kind of went into it, and I'm just, I'm not against it, but it's not something that's big in my life. So when I watched this, I was like, oh, finally, there's kind of a big, movie about this,
Mm-hmm.
about, people being kind of aware, because I think that's what the whole point of the movie was, for people to be aware of the harm that social networking can have.
Hmm.
Um, what were your thoughts when you first watched it, David?
My first impressions of the movie, I had first heard about it online about, I think, around the time that it released. I know we're maybe about a week or so late. Somebody mentioned it, right? I saw the guy, the main character, not the main character, I'm sorry, the main documentarian, Tristan Harris, the co-founder for Center for Humane Technology. I heard about him online on Twitter. Somebody wanted to get an interview with him, and then you brought the movie up to me, and I'm like, okay, then yeah, I'll give it a shot. Um, my first impressions when they introduced all of the tech CEOs from previous companies, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, I thought to myself, I'm like, these guys, their intentions were probably to try and bring people together with their platforms and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, so I'll give it a shot because I was being very skeptical. I was like, you guys are Silicon Valley dudes, like, you guys probably just care about money and things like that. And as the movie went on, I did not expect the drama little skit that they did, the little
Yeah,
kind of
the movie kind
mhm,
of aspect of it.
to try to dramatize the behavior that we exhibit when we're using our phones and as young people. I thought that was my biggest criticism of that was that I thought it was like the shittiest version of a Black Mirror episode. If anybody's ever watched Black Mirror, yeah, like where the dystopian futures and shit happen. Yeah, I just thought it was a shittier version of that. Um, I thought they were doing a good job of presenting the really bad side effects of what happens when you are really just glued to your social media apps, your email, right? Which was a surprise to me that people can be addicted to their email because it's just mail. Like, how do you get addicted to mail? And what else? I also thought it was interesting when they brought up the suicide rate, uh, mostly for young women. I thought that was really interesting. Really good point. That was halfway through the movie where it kind of hooked me, because I was getting bored. Uh, because I was like, I know all of this. Like it's been obvious for a while now that it's unhealthy to be on your phone at all times and glued. It changes your perception of things. It changes your behavior, right? So I was getting.
Even kind
Mm-hmm.
of, sorry to cut you off, but
Mm-hmm.
even though um, that's the same way I looked at it, was when I was watching it, I was like, oh, do people not know this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, do they not understand that, you know, being glued essentially, like you said, to your phone doesn't have the best, the best benefits? It's not essentially good for you to be constantly on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
However, that's why to me, I was just like, oh, like it was almost nothing new. But like I said, I think that's what their whole point was, is maybe there is, especially with, Gen Z being the one that's impacted the most in this, maybe they are not aware because it's become normal, because that's at least, I don't know how you guys grew up, but I didn't grow up with any of these things. I didn't get on social media until probably um, late into high school. Maybe, I mean, MySpace was the big thing back
Mm-hmm.
then, which looking back at now, it's like MySpace. With it's it's such an old thing. And then Facebook came around, which became a huge, and still is huge,
Yes.
buying out other their competitors essentially, and surviving still.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of
Mhm.
weird to me that it was something that they were bringing awareness to something that I thought was already some people already knew.
Yeah, Grinch, what was the first social media that you started using growing up, if you used
I
any?
had a I had a MySpace, but I was like, reluctant to start it at first because I didn't get it,
Mm-hmm.
and then so I fired it up, and I was like, all right, it's pretty cool. It wasn't like as I guess it was, you can say, addicting, because this was like, I'm sure it was before smartphones, because I don't remember there being an app for MySpace. So it's like it couldn't take over your life because you can only access it through your computer. So you were, the rest of the day, you got to go to school, you got to get a job if you're not a lazy bum. So like this is like all the stuff that was like, it, I guess you can say like sort of in the way of getting on there, but it wasn't like I wasn't like itching to like see like, oh, what notifications, who commented on this, you know. And I don't have the same thing with like I had to get a new phone, and I haven't re-downloaded Facebook because I just don't want to.
Interesting. Yeah, I used to use. I think the closest thing I used to some sort of social media messaging platform was AOL Instant Messenger. I think that must have been like the earliest for me, if that
But
counts.
that's not social media though. That's
True,
just
true.
IM.
It's
You
part of
know.
social networking, and I think that's something that the movie in the beginning especially highlighted was the fact that I think these creators of these platforms did not have the intent of making it what it is now, and it was essentially a tool for us to use to be more connected.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah,
like instant messaging, it was something, um, I one of the reasons why I didn't get big into any of that, or why I even hate texting, was because I still remember what is now known as the burner phones, where you had to tap like 3 times to get to the letter that you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, it'd be like, 10 minutes, and I'm just like, I don't even want to talk to you anymore
There's a
because
name
I
for
already
that.
got the first
Mm-hmm.
message out. Yeah, I forgot what it's actually, and I actually just used one of those phones like about 2 years ago, and I'm like, that's why I didn't like texting.
Yeah, we had those guys, you know, in Miami. I mean, everyone's gonna have them, but well, we called them losers
Interesting.
because you didn't have like friends that you really wanted to talk to and friends that didn't really want to talk to you. So I mean, how many friends do you really have?
Yeah, and you mentioned something
You asking
interesting.
me or attacking me?
Yeah, Grinch, you mentioned that like MySpace, right? There wasn't really an app for that, right? Like there
it
wasn't the
was it was
yeah.
really early on.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
that was
really
way
early,
early on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, MySpace, I think I really started using it was my middle school days, like I think 7th grade was where I was introduced to it, where you could have your best friends being um
What do
they're
they call them? Like the top,
top, yeah,
right?
your
Uh,
top 5 friends or
I
whatever.
just remembered that the
Yeah.
top friends thing.
Correct, yeah. And it used to be such a topic of contention amongst your buddies because it's like, oh, why is he in front of me and why am I in third? You know, and it was always like, oh, who the fuck do I choose? Because like it was such a big deal for other people to see who was on your top 5, right? Not, I'm not talking about T-Mobile top 5, which is funny
Oh
because
man.
they
And
used.
then you remember, and then they came out with that stupid ass thing that instead of having a top five or a top eight, it said "fuck top eight" and then exclamation point or whatever the fuck. They found out
No.
a way to like write it. It was so stupid. It's like, oh my god, yeah, like, oh, I have so many friends, I can't decide. Fuck you, all right. Just stop being a cunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Fuck
weird,
off.
right? Like
Yeah,
you
go fuck
actually
yourself.
like you're actually best friends with those top 5 people. Now that I'm
Yeah,
much
right.
older, I might if we had a top 5, I'd probably just I'd make it clear, right? Who
My
the
top
top 5.
list would be firm.
Firm, yeah, it would
Anybody
be
that fucking
firm,
tries to
yeah.
be like, why am I not on your top eight? Because we're not really friends, bitch. Like, I have to spell it out for you? Come on. What are you
I had
doing?
forgotten about that until we spoke about it the other day, David.
I
Mhm,
Because
forgot about it until just this moment.
Tom literally was my first one,
mhm,
because they had, he had been there from day one. So I was like,
mhm.
he deserves to be number one.
Tom,
Yeah,
yeah.
man.
I
Keep this
wonder.
guy
But
around. Hell yeah.
if you
Yeah.
think about it, that was the first. It's funny that we didn't see that as a sign, because
Mhm.
now it's amplified by
Likes.
millions. Because
Yeah.
you're talking about likes. When they first put the like button on like Facebook, I don't think they intended it either. Even MySpace, I don't think with their list of top friends, I don't think they intended it to be taken as like the the people that were on this list finding self-worth in that, or approval.
Mhm.
It was more of like, we just want you to be engaged in our website.
Mhm.
And now it has turned that where I think a lot of people are finding, like, that's how they find approval from others. And sometimes it's sad because it's like, it's those that have like million of followers, it's not like they know everyone.
True.
Yet they're like, the like button, or the heart, which is why I don't like anything on Instagram, because it has a heart and I don't love things. um so I don't agree with that. Instagram, if you want to change that, I would. But that's how they find. That's how kind of they determine how they are perceived in the world. Is how many likes you have, how many followers you have, which
Yeah.
I don't think was the intent when they were creating this thing,
Hmm.
but it's definitely what's kind of taken over our world in these, especially in these platforms.
You know what's funny? If I can just say two things real quick. Um, I was not asked about, nor no one approached me at all about this changing of the logo to support the Lakers. So there's that, but we can talk about that later. And then also, early on in Facebook, um, I was actually the first one to think of and patent the idea of the dislike button, which is still not around.
Oh,
Because
it's not.
I remember
Yeah.
seeing,
Hmm.
you know, more than one status that somebody would write something about, oh, it's a little pity party, and like, oh my god, my life is so hard, and I just want to fucking be like, nobody, shut up. Like, I just wanted to hit dislike on there, but there was no option, so all you can do is just keep scrolling.
Yeah.
It's true. I think I've told you about that about Instagram, that they don't have a dislike button, and there are,
Yeah.
you know who I'm talking about. There is one specific person that I would love to dislike. I'm not gonna say who it is, but yeah, go ahead.
His name is no.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, for me, remembering Facebook, no, from MySpace to transitioning into the sort of smartphone era, because I remember iPhone came out around my eighth grade year, which was I was 15, and that that was 10 years ago for me.
Okay, yeah, I
So
was like, that's
2010. So it came out right. When did it come out? 2009, 2010, that fiscal year. The iPhone. Shout out to Steve Jobs. He, from
Why?
there, cause he was a
Can't hear
vision.
you.
I know, right?
You don't know who you are. He doesn't care.
Yeah, for me the transitioning, it was I didn't understand that, like you said, that behavior, right, where we didn't realize it, where it started with the like button, and that sort of feedback you got from all the followers you had, everybody who could look at your profile, because MySpace used to be that thing where your page represented who you were, and you had some photos of yourself, you had your profile photo, and you could like customize your page, like you could go through the text edit, you could go through behind the page and like make it look fancy and stuff. I thought that was cool. And then you had Facebook, right, where they called the wall, right, like people would post things on your wall or something, like I don't remember if that's what they
oh yeah,
call
is that not around anymore?
it. I don't think so, right, your
It
page,
is.
right.
Yeah,
Is it?
you
Oh,
can
okay.
write on somebody's wall. Yeah, of course.
Right. And you could poke people, remember that, you could poke somebody.
Oh, I think when they came out with the poke, that was.
That was interesting. I don't. I remember you'd poke somebody and then they'd poke you back. I was like, what? Like, do they still have that? They get rid of it, right?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, no, like I don't. For David, I think it might have been different. Like usually, well, what we would do is like it would be with females. So you know, like who's trying to smash. So for David, I
I
guess
wasn't
is
old
that.
enough. Yeah. It was
Oh,
more.
okay. That's the excuse we're using. Okay.
I mean, I probably was trying to smash, right? If I'm poking you, like.
No,
Yo.
so it was. So you guys did use it in the gay community?
We tried to. I mean, it was unspoken. Of we poke each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
We preferred real life poking.
Take a second to.
Yeah. But yeah, and so Facebook from there for me, like that's when I started to really get hooked into that behavior, where I'm like, okay, I need to make sure like my my status updates are like relevant, or I say something witty, somebody hopefully notices it, or I get a comment or something. That for me, entering high school was really when I started to fall into that um, social media behavior, where who I am online and who I am offline were almost two different people, right? I didn't see myself, and maybe that's just because as a young person, you don't really know yourself too well, and you're still naive about what you're into. You're not really set in your ways, and a Facebook profile, it's like supposed to be the way you connect with everybody across the world now. So people are more inclined to make who they are offline and reciprocate that who they are online, a little more or less, but we can get into that later. But
No,
yeah.
it's funny that you say that because
Hmm.
you know, you mentioned being someone else when you're online, and
Mm-hmm.
then being who you are maybe in real life
Mm-hmm.
without it, and it kind of shows the different realities that people live in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they're using these things, they may be someone, a specific person, and I think it's like almost the entertainer
Mm-hmm.
out of people. It's like that's who you are online, and then you might be different when you are in person. And the reason why you act a certain way online is to either get a following or get, you know, attention
Mm-hmm.
in a way. And that kind of goes into like, I think we talked about it
Mm-hmm.
a couple of days ago about like it's interesting to see that, and maybe the effect that it has on people who haven't exactly found who they are,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, because it takes us a while, you know, depending on who you are, because I believe everything is case by case. But
Mm-hmm.
some people don't find themselves or what their purpose or what they really like to do until later in life.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of changes your, I guess, the timeline in especially having some of these, because the generation that is affected is Gen Z, which is like 1996, I think, to
Mm-hmm.
what, 2015.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 20. Yeah, 2008 or right, whatever. Anytime after 96, you're Gen
Yeah,
Z. Yeah, and then there's whatever gens after.
I can't keep up with the generations anymore. I just go off the year that I was born.
Same.
But those are really the ones that, you know, have been affected, because they said those are the individuals who were going through middle school and having phones,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which I remember having a phone in middle school, but it was more of an emergency thing
Mm-hmm.
than anything.
Yeah, that's a
But
good point. Mm-hmm.
at that age, I don't think they know exactly who they want to be. I think that's a little too early in my opinion, way too early to know what you want to be and who you want to be. And yet there's the image of themselves is
Wait,
being
sorry. Can you repeat that?
that during that time, so like middle school, right?
Hmm.
Um I think it's way too early for individuals to know who they want to be
I
in
disagree with
life.
that.
Oh,
And why?
elaborate.
Yeah, please.
Well, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or like an astronaut or something, that's something you have to take into consideration very early. So that because high school is really where they start like tracking like your progress and stuff. So from there is really where you have to decide, hey, I want to be a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or you know, whatever it is can be. Maybe you want to be a lumberjack or some
Mm-hmm.
shit. You know, whatever makes you happy. Like you can still, I think from that age you can decide, hey, this is what I want to do. So I don't really think that's a big
Mm-hmm. Okay.
thing.
Let me.
Well, I don't think at
Mhm.
that point you understand yet what, you know, how life works enough to make a decision on what you want to do. Because
No.
although maybe people want to be like, I don't fucking know, a painter, right?
Hmm.
And until you get older, do you understand that maybe not a lot of money in that, and you may not be able
Oh,
to sustain yourself doing
that's
that,
the
that you
thing.
might choose a career that actually gets you where you want to be.
Well, that's the thing. Like, yeah, maybe, yeah, at an eighth grade level, you don't really know how hard life can be, but that doesn't mean like that just be like let's see, if you decided to be a painter, you don't know how difficult it is to like sort of to make it in that field. It doesn't mean that you sort of lose that dream. Now, what you got to do is have day jobs in support of that, so you never really lose that ideal job of yours. You just have it just takes longer to get there because it's not exactly a conventional, sort of job,
Yeah, I
if that
wanted.
makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. What I wanted to say on that was, if it wasn't for, and I'm gonna blame the American education system, because they don't do a good job of nurturing that
No.
sense of self. Like, no, you're right, Grinch. Like, you could be you could be in high school, and in your mind, you're like, I'm gonna do this creative um, thing as a job, even if there isn't a lot of money in it. But if I become very successful, there could be. And I think that they don't do a good job of nurturing that sense of like your hobbies or your creative endeavors, or your whatever craftsmanship or trade you want to learn,
You
right?
know what the thing? Sorry to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
No, no, no,
The
yeah.
thing about that, I think, is it's a lot of it still comes down to a lot of individual effort,
Mm-hmm.
because just because, yeah, you still have to go to your other classes, your math class and all that other shit
Mm-hmm.
that you might not think that is, going to help you or benefit you in whatever job you decide you want to take. But
Mm-hmm.
then again, it's how driven are you? How much do you enjoy doing this? Because just because you have that during school, that doesn't mean there aren't after school programs or electives that you can take
Correct.
that help you in that, that field.
That's what supposedly what electives are supposed to be for, right? Electives where you
Why is that supposedly? Why are you?
no, right, no, because that's because I took tons of electives in high school, and I I got my feet wet doing other electives and stuff like that, and that sort of helped kind of guide me in a sense because I chose my electives based on what I was interested in. Uh, and so yeah, that was just kind of for me what I would do to sort of nurture myself, right? Like you said, if it was for me up to me, I'm taking elective courses that are focused on what I want to do maybe for the rest of my life, or maybe I'm interested in pursuing. Um, but yeah, that for me, it's just a matter of like, if schools were like, "Hey, what are you into?" Okay, let's try and find a way to nurture you into that
Yeah, well,
because,
obviously, yeah. In a perfect world, that is how school would go.
yeah,
But
um,
yeah, I really think it comes down to uh, individual effort, because it's just like people saying,
mm-hmm,
or like kids, whatever, right? Like because when I started working very young,
mm-hmm,
but a lot of people's excuses was, oh, I'm too young, or they don't hire until you're 16 or
mm-hmm,
whatever the
mm-hmm,
fuck. It's like, well, okay, maybe this place doesn't, but you
mm-hmm,
can go to any number of businesses that are
mm-hmm,
more than willing to hire you. If you go over there and say, hey, I'm just trying to make some extra money, it's usually going to be a small business because they're going to be more understanding, because they
mm-hmm,
don't have that huge corporate thing like, oh, we can't hire you, blah 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 blah.
mm-hmm.
No, you can work for some cash, whatever. Go to any place. Hey, can I do anything? Fucking, I can sweep up, or mop the floors, whatever, and then they'll take care of you. So with that same, you can use that same kind of effort in, I guess, if we're talking about painting, like if in your artwork,
Mm-hmm.
there's other programs. If
Mm-hmm.
your parents support you
Mm-hmm.
in your decision, especially as, like, I think as a kid they should, but that's none of my business. But like, they can help you out, find you some other classes outside of your
Mm-hmm.
obligated time in the public school or whatever.
Yeah, that is a really good point.
Like you said, be an individual effort, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to kind of circle back around to that, where we were talking about if you find yourself early on, can you be responsible enough to manage yourself online, right?
Well, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I was going to bring up the fact that it does depend on the individual. Um, what do you think? How do you think social media or social networking nowadays affect that thinking?
Yes.
Just for example, like most of I think you told me the other day, David, how many young millionaires we have.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think most of them, and one of the reasons why I hate influencers, because the one thing that they flash is like, oh, the lifestyle that they live,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes it'll be like, this is how I did it, and it'll be like either I fucking know, gaming or streaming or making content or something. That if someone sees that, especially like during the high school age range, let's say, because that's I think Grinch, you mentioned that that's kind of when you start to see where you're gonna go. I mean, I think that's when you have like job fairs and all that stuff. Colleges, you start looking at colleges
Recruiters.
and yeah, recruiters and stuff. All these kind of things to set you up for what you're gonna do once you leave school. To where if someone around that time sees that, well, maybe I can make it doing what someone else been doing, and they're doing very well for themselves. um why wouldn't I do it?
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
Yeah. It is an interesting time that we live in because we have young millionaires, right? It's something new, and to many people, it's like, why do these people have so much? And the way they portray themselves to have this luxurious lifestyle, um, it's like, yeah, okay, you're a young millionaire, right? It's normal. Like, you look at the most popular young ones, it's like the Paul brothers, Logan Paul and Jake Paul. Those are the most obvious, um, to anybody, right? Because they've made a name for themselves, and it's interesting to see people who are jealous of that, because to me, I see it as like, well, we gave them the tools, right, which is what they were intended for, to create and to sort of, um, do pursue that creative endeavor, right? And that's exactly what happened. Like, they picked up their phone and they turned it towards them and they started to create, and they blew up. And people, there's a negative effect to that extent, because you see, and I think we see this a lot in the gaming industry right now, where it's like, oh, he plays video games all day and gets paid to do that. It's like, oh, he makes videos all day and he gets paid to do that, and it's like unheard of, right? Up until now, where it's like almost normalized. I say almost because there's still, they don't take it very seriously. The idea that you could have a career, playing video games, or using your phone to create content for others. Um, but yeah, there's drawbacks to being a young millionaire, right? Because you got to be responsible with your money. You have to be responsible with your audience, because your audience, it being a very huge part of your success and your revenue. I think that with great power comes great responsibility, and
Couldn't think of anything more lame to
hey
say.
man, it holds so much weight when you think about it, because, um, it's obvious to me that these apps, these social media apps, like the movie, like the documentary, and those tech CEOs explain, they're created to prey on our behaviors, to manipulate us into reacting, immediately. Um, and my biggest gripe with that, and the young millionaires who use their platforms to promote things, is that they try to make everything about some kind of issue, whether it be political, whether it be personal, or, you know, or some other miscellaneous kind of subject. And there's nothing wrong with using the power of the internet to ask for help. I just think that it can be like taken the wrong way if people are not careful when they're asking for something online, or they're using it to, what is it? How would you say it? Call to action. Yeah, call to action, right? Um, what do you think, Rick, about the young millionaires using their platforms for things that, they're young people. What do they know about such subjects? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. I shout out to them first of all for being able to influence their their audience to do certain things.
Oh my God,
Good,
yes.
good on them. That's just marketing 101. I mean,
Yes.
they are making money off of it.
Each
We
other.
plan
Off
on
each other.
doing an episode of the fitness industry because I have my gripes with them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same reason why I hate them. They use, and more geared towards I think the young audience because they're more easily persuaded.
Manipulated.
Yeah. So I mean, because the one thing that I think we talked about the other day was the Travis Scott thing,
Mm-hmm.
and good on him for making that amount of money. Like it's great. He got he did the brand deal, and that's absolutely great. The fact that it's not like McDonald's hadn't put bacon on a burger before
Or pickles.
because they have. Um, it just didn't sell well. That's all it was. And the fact that it almost seemed, I told my friend the other day that if I would have to came from another planet, came here and went to McDonald's, I would have thought that he built this burger, like he invented putting these ingredients on a burger, which is not true. There's one, if I'm gonna go get a burger, it's not gonna be from McDonald's if I want a good burger. However, his amount of influence that he has, he's been able to get all these people to go and try his stuff. There's like a video of a guy stealing the poster.
Yeah, that was
made.
funny. That was funny.
Yeah, it's essentially to, I mean, good on him too, because I'm pretty sure he's gonna sell it on eBay and make a whole bunch of money
Mm-hmm.
off of that. But it's just, it kind of shows how easily manipulated people are through social networking,
Mm-hmm.
and how once you kind of have a certain fan base, a certain audience, you can almost get them to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the the young people who are huge influencers kind of grasp that. I think what they only see is, this is how I can make money,
Mhm.
without knowing how it affects people, how it actually affects their audience.
Mm-hmm. That is a really good point, because in that movie, in the documentary, they make it obvious to us, right? Because there's this, in the documentary, there are three people sitting in a, no, they're not sitting, they're standing in like a command center, what looks like
Yeah.
to be a command center. And they are explaining to us that there are people, like really evil people, or like they're there to like keep you engaged. Like, what's the uptime on your engagement? Like, we're constantly hitting you with advertisements. If you ignore this advertisement, okay, well, we're gonna hit you with something else right after, with the
Like notifications.
yeah, like what's the percentage of you clicking on it, or you just looking at it, just reading it, just glancing at it, right? They have the analytics for everything on the back end. And it's kind of scary, because we put a lot of trust in these tech companies, right? The biggest being
let's not use we.
Oh, I was speaking French right there. Uh, that, you know, you've got Google, Facebook, and what's the third big one?
Instagram.
No,
Or
it's on
Twitter.
Twitter, right?
Twitter.
There you go, Twitter. Yeah, because Instagram is owned by Facebook. And it's like, we now have this worry. Well, for me, I'm worried that they not only are holding on to all of my data, but we're not.
100%.
Yeah, but we're
Not even a question.
Yeah, and it's like the documentary tries to make a point. It's like, oh, you've become complicit. You're not in control of your behavior. It's the people who are controlling the app, the people who send you these notifications every time you talk about something.
Essentially, like they said, it's the product now becomes the user, and the user now becomes the product, the user being us.
Correct. Yeah. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. It's crazy, because it's become, what, you got something to say? It's
I mean, I have a Facebook, but just because I didn't pay for it, I wouldn't say that I am Facebook.
You are the collective conscious of Facebook, because
Nonsense.
because you add to the population on Facebook. So like whatever numbers they have, you're part of that stat. They're like, oh, we have 1 billion users on Facebook, so we're gonna, we use that data to say, for leverage, when they're like, oh, you want to run ads on our company? You want to run ads on Facebook? Oh yeah, look, we've got 1 billion people on there. Chances are you're gonna get at least 1 million people clicking through it.
I believe it's pronounced leverage.
Leverage? Leverage.
Yes, that's correct.
Leverage. Sorry, my English is not my native tongue.
Mine either, but I seem to know it a lot better than
True.
native speakers, apparently.
True. And something that kind of stuck out to me during the documentary was and this is just my opinion. It came off as the biggest piece of liberal propaganda, in my
Here we
opinion.
go. Now we're speaking my language.
The social dilemma is the biggest liberal propaganda about the dangers of social media. It's yes.
All right, look. So I haven't seen this thing. Why don't you just give me like a short run through what happens?
The drama,
Because-
the drama that
Well, yeah, no,
that the little dramedy that they weave into the documentary, right? The little skit. Um, they use an interracial couple, and then during it was the husband was black and the wife was white, Caucasian, right? And they had children, if you remember correctly. This is
No, this is how
No,
much
he's
I'm not
he's
a
following a
racist. That
fly.
I don't even see.
uh,
I didn't even. I
you
couldn't
pay,
even tell that they were different.
yeah, you couldn't tell. One of them was black, and the other one was white. Um, and it was funny to me because they were making a very strong case against the extreme center, right? That was because they were not making it obvious during the skit that the left is, Democratic, and then the right is Republican. In the little dramedy, it was like, oh, the extreme center. They were showing you how like one kid can be influenced to go to a protest and then end up getting arrested. Like the slippery slope was like, oh, I'm on my phone
Wait,
looking.
what
Uh-huh.
about the other kid? That's okay. That's the one kid. What about the other kid?
Oh, the other kid. Okay, let me tell you about the other kid real quick. The mom is like, can you please put your cell phone away? And she puts all the phones away in a little cookie jar with a timer lock, right, for an hour. They're having dinner. The smallest child gets up, goes to the kitchen, and smashes it open. She's like 11 years old, right? Smashes open the cookie jar, pulls her phone out, and just walks off. If it was a Mexican household, I would have fucking thrown my plate across the room. I'd have been like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Like she broke it, glass. Like there was plastic glass or whatever material they use for like resistant shattering.
Yeah, it was. It looked
Was it
like a food.
clay? Was it like a clay jar?
No, no, no. It was
No, it was like those clear.
clear jars with a timer lock on top of the cookie jar. Uh,
I've never seen one of those. Interesting.
they were on Shark Tank. Um,
A little plug for him.
because in the documentary, that's
Do we have
the
Are we
mother,
sponsored by Shark Tank or this clear jar that maybe?
Mark
No,
Cuban,
but if you
hook us
were
up. Yeah.
listening to Shark Tank, I like your voice.
Yeah, and dude, it was the ugliest fucking thing I'd ever seen. Where she breaks it and just walks off, right, with no.
And the parents do
consequence.
nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, the parents absolutely do.
the
nothing.
husband
Yeah,
looks at the
they just
wife.
follow. Yeah.
Yeah, the husband looks at the wife and she's like, what are we gonna
Let
do
me
with
tell
her?
you. All right, look. Let me tell you why this is bullshit. Because first of all, 100. No fucking parent. I don't think anywhere is just gonna be like, oh, my kid smashed the jar, took their phone, and went about their business. Okay. Have you seen the latest stupid which is kind of funny, but whatever. The shut up challenge, where the kids will be like, you haven't seen? Oh, this is tremendous. So this is a new thing. So like one of the parents will be in on it, right? Usually I think it's the mom. So the mom will be like, hey, go upstairs and clean your room. And then one of the kids will be like, no, shut up. And they're just trying to see like the reaction of the dad. And fucking 10 times out of 10, the dad is like, after a second, like he lets it process for a second. He's like, what the fuck just happened? What did you just say? And then they'll test it even further. They'll be like, oh, Derek, please, I asked you to clean your room. And he'd be like, no, shut the fuck up. And the dad gets up like, what the fuck are you saying to your mother? And it gets up to like get ready to beat his ass, And this is like across the board. So like,
Yeah,
where
but I
these
find
ideas-
that to be so. That's one of my issues with like TikTok in general, because I think that's the biggest one that does these kind of videos. I look at it from my issue with it is from a creative standpoint, is there is no creativity in these. It's just trends that people redo over and over again, and there is no genuine
what I mean-
emotion in it. Most of them are it's like they're just creating videos that have already been done in the past. And even like, let's say the dad's reaction, I have no idea whether that's because some of them you can tell that wasn't genuine. Like,
No, yeah, of course, yeah, probably. But the ones that I've seen so far, like I didn't see that many, but they were genuine because it's like there was one where the reaction wasn't that extreme. It was more like it was still like are you serious? I'm gonna fucking beat your ass if you say it one more time. Like one of those. And then that's where like no, it was a joke, it's a joke, blah blah blah. So it's like the idea though is that it's not. I lost my train of thought a little bit, but like the idea is still that they're gonna instill that respect within the kids,
Mm-hmm.
That they're not just gonna smash a jar and like get away with
Like,
it.
it's not every household doing these, videos to actually see.
Right, but that's the
Just
thing. I still
because
have
we
yet to
grew up
see.
in
I
a
know that it exists. I know that it exists. That there's kids that get away with like absolutely ridiculous shit, and I don't want to see it, but I personally haven't like been around it. Like I've never seen it. I'm sure it happens. I'm just saying. Like I think that's probably it could be, and I'm not willing to die on this hill, but it could be one of those things that's like just like the minority voice is just louder than that of the majority. You know
What's
what I mean?
crazy that you say that, because it's one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about was our own reality and what we live in. So, for example, that you haven't seen kids treat parents this way, right? You can say, "Oh yeah, there might be a small percentage," but in reality, you wouldn't know how much or how often it happens because you don't see it.
Yeah,
And
of
it's
course.
like that whole saying about whether a tree falls in the woods and there's
It
nobody
makes a
around to
noise.
hear it, does it make a noise, right?
It makes a noise. Can we? You want to talk about that? I'm more than
No,
happy.
no, I
Because
don't
how
want to talk about that. I don't want
you
to get
fucking
defensive.
suck.
Um,
I don't see
but
why
it's
not.
the
But
same
whatever.
thing, right? Because you look at these platforms and the feeds are uh, like custom for you. So it's almost like you're only allowed to live in a certain reality. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times that, like, even these videos that you bring up, I haven't seen them, but that's because my algorithm doesn't show me that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
Jesus
sometimes,
Christ. No, hold on.
uh,
Well, now you like. I'm not looking for videos of parents beating the shit out of their kids because
well,
I
apparently
haven't.
that's what it sounds like.
Well, yeah, that's how your mind twisted it because you're sick in the
No,
head.
it's his
But
algorithm.
I haven't.
Right?
Listen,
It's his
I
algorithm.
haven't I haven't liked or shared videos in like years.
Mm-hmm.
So I like most of my shit is just random crap that comes up. That's probably why I saw this thing and you haven't. But then again, we've got David over here who's like watching shit like cuties.
Yeah.
And like I didn't even know that thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. I was disgusted when he brought it up. I still haven't seen it, and I'm never gonna watch that shit. Just from your description, and then
Yeah.
after we talked about it, I saw just like a news article headline about like the controversy that it is, and I'm just like, I'm not even gonna fucking touch that side of my phone. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I don't even want to look at that shit.
Yeah. That's yeah, and the tech companies, what they're doing is, are they are they the evil people for using capitalism to their
No,
advantage? Are they the
no.
villains? Because the
Would you,
documentary.
let me ask you this. Let me
Mhm.
ask you this.
Mhm.
If you were in this position to make money like this,
Mhm.
would you turn it down because you think, oh no, this is bad. I can't do this to people.
To be completely
It's a
honest,
hard.
no.
It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to kind of really insert yourself into, to think, to be like in this position where
Mhm.
you're getting so much money, and
Yeah.
so that's a lot of people don't. They can't think that way. I'm not saying that 100% of the stuff they're doing is right, but as far as capitalizing on a good idea, good on you, man.
Yeah, make hay while the sun shines. No, no, no. I can understand that their bottom line means a lot, and these tech companies, I do believe the those tech CEOs that they interviewed, that their intentions were not to create this like sort of app that promotes what is it, unrealistic standards of human living. It's, for me, as how I would put it, unrealistic standards of the way we live. Um, because you see photos of people who look like they live this extravagant lifestyle, but but they're really not living this extravagant lifestyle. These photos evoke that, oh my god, this person travels all over the fucking world. Oh my god, she swims with dolphins. Oh, she likes to drink fine wine on the weekend, or this and that. And it's like, no, like, I know you, fool, in real life. You're just a regular ass person and you like to take photos of shit. Like, that, don't be bougie. Don't be fugazi.
Oh man, the
Like,
best one of the best memes that I saw when this
yeah.
shit started was
Uh-huh.
ever since this pandemic started, girls have only been they've stopped sharing their old photos of their travels and stuff, and like they just stopped posting altogether because they ran out of like old shit to post.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's another thing too. It's like they start to repost things from the past, like memories, right? I think that's what Instagram
no current
calls.
pictures.
Yeah, no.
Nothing of what's actually going on.
Yeah,
it's
oh.
all old shit.
And it's like, yeah, we get it. You went to Rome for a fucking week and you had a nice time. And you took a picture of the.
Your parents paid for it, and you had a great time.
Yeah, and you like maybe saved up money and you like are having a good time. Yeah, like eat a dick. Fuck.
Wait, why are you?
Sorry, I'm mad. I'm just
a little bit.
sorry. I was getting mad.
Wait, what are you apologizing for? Nobody's listening.
Why am I being sorry? Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. You guys fucking take your photos of your food. Remember when that shit was a trend? Taking photos of your food?
It was.
Oh my god, it still is. It drives me crazy. Yeah, there's this chick in my class. She does that all the time, and whenever we'd go out, she has to take a picture of this fucking food. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, it's for Instagram. I'm like, nobody fucking cares about your tacos. Eat your shit. We have class to go to. Stop bullshitting.
But the worst part is that people do.
Yeah, and
how sad is your life that you have to look at pictures of other people's food on Instagram? Like, if it comes up, I get it, but if you're actively seeking it out, unless you're like looking for something to cook, it's like I just don't get it. I don't know. I don't think I've ever posted a picture of my food because it's like, oh yeah, in your face, I'm having a Domino's pizza. Fuck you. I don't get it.
That is funny. And I think that's the whole point of stories now. If you're familiar with stories, right? People post photos and like a timeline of things.
Oh, we're very familiar with stories, right?
It's
we're Sierra Solis and I we know. Oh wait, should I not have said that?
Should I? I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. So that's
no
probably
details.
Yeah, I don't know.
Details. Yeah.
I don't know who that is. So you could. That's probably your friend. I've never met him. And yeah, like when people would take photos of their shit, or not their literal shit, but their stuff.
Oh, you telling me you've never done that?
I've actually never taken a picture of that, of my excrement. But for me,
you obviously don't have very good friends.
Or maybe they're just. It's like
nobody's ever sent you like randomly a picture of their shit.
What the fuck? If they did, I would probably laugh. It's like, I guess that's what women feel like when you send them an unsolicited dick pic.
Like, how do you go from Jesus Christ? How does your mind work?
Yeah, I don't think that's.
What do you? How would you react to someone sending you a picture of their shit?
Like at first disgusted, and then I see, oh no, it's Roger. This guy's a fucking idiot. This isn't like out of the norm for him. I get it.
Oh,
stop that disgust.
Oh, he had corn for lunch. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I know who it is.
Okay, see, that's disgusting. You're like zooming into it.
You're analyzing it. You're sending it to the fucking lab.
This guy fucking, Jesus Christ, must have had a lax. He's got fucking hair in here. There's bones. I got a fucking dinosaur fossil in here. Jesus Christ, this guy's looking really into it. It's more like you open it up unexpectedly. Oh my God, a fucking thing of shit. So, Roger, fuck you. And close it out.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and then these influencers really do take. I mean, they're the biggest example of what happens when you are someone else online, and you are who you are in real life. And in the documentary, they didn't mention that, but it was obvious to the viewer that anybody who's this was one of my biggest gripes with the documentary, was that they tried to make it obvious to the viewer that if you're on social media too much and your body twitches at the sound of a notification or a couple of likes, then you have an issue, you have a problem, you have an addiction. And earlier you mentioned personal responsibility, Grinch, and it's like discipline. It's like, where the fuck, like, people lived without smartphones before. So why is it such a surprise that our behavior is geared towards doing something that gives us good feedback? Because that dopamine rush that we get, it can be healthy and it can be unhealthy if you're abusing that sensation, because you can get desensitized to certain joyous occasions. It's like when I used to go to concerts, outdoor concerts, I would love to record things, but after a while I really got tired of doing it because I was seeing everything through a screen. And not to sound like fucking, you know, like some kind of prophet or something, but it was disgusting, in my opinion. Like you're watching your life through a lens. You're no longer experiencing things in the moment. And I learned that kind of early on, towards the end of my high school career, where I started to really despise social media because I could see the effects on my behavior because I have a very addictive behavior. I can like really get into something really easily and then drop it.
You like an addictive personality, I think.
Yeah, and I'm self-aware of that, and I know when I'm already going a little bit too far. I know not everybody has that same sort of discipline where they understand where their body has now crossed the line where it's like, oh, I'm no longer not thinking about it. My body is craving it. It's like, oh fuck, I have to check my phone. Oh, I have to have that cigarette. Oh, I need I need that kick. That fix. And
I don't think anybody notices when they're addicted until it's presented to them. Because I mean, the first step is
admitting,
right?
That's what I'm saying. I admitted to myself, saying that I feel like I have an issue. Like it's no longer me. Like, oh, I want to check it. It's like, oh fuck, something in the back of my head is like, yo, pick up your phone and check your messages real quick. Check the last post you've made. See if it got more likes than the last one. And for me, I really like it. It honestly did affect my life for a little bit after a while. Instagram and Facebook really like hurt me mentally, because at the time I was not using it in a very healthy manner. I was sort of using it to check up on people and others, and I would compare myself to those situations, and I would say, why am I not there? Or why am I not enjoying my life the way they are? And it really would hurt my feelings. It would hurt my self-esteem. I wasn't really into taking selfies, or like taking photos or engaging in an online, sort of trends at the time. Because now obviously it's just a regular thing to be using a social media. And yeah, it really hurt my feelings and my self-esteem when I would compare myself to other people online, to people I would know, even people I knew in real life, and they would post something and the photo would just look pretty enough that it made it seem like their lifestyle is just a little bit better than mine. That would make me feel a certain type of way. And for the longest, I couldn't log on to Instagram. I couldn't log on to Facebook. I just couldn't use anything because I was just like, this is fake. Like, you're all fake as fuck. Like, you're putting shit up that does, like, I get it. You want to share
Easy. We're just talking.
I know.
Easy.
You want to share your intimate, your most private or your most public moments. And for me, I was like, you know what? If I want to use this responsibly, I don't mind sharing moments in my life with my online audience. I don't mind that. I can understand that once you put it up there, it's on there forever. And yeah, and that for me it's just kind of my personal experience up till now. I feel a lot better. I can now like use Instagram just to not use it actively, but I can go on it, and I've seen how much it's evolved because I stopped using it for a while, and it's just disgusting on there. It's become something that what I thought it once was, where you could share an intimate photo of someone with you or something that you want to share with the internet. Cool. But now it's like they've got videos, they've got an Instagram television channel on there. They have that story feature where you can post multiple photos at once, and they're gone after a while. Yeah, because it's interesting for me to see it from the outside after having gone through this sort of shedding of social media and the grip it had on my behavior, right? Which I'm not afraid to admit that it did affect me. Like I felt like I was someone else when I wasn't using social media actively. I still have accounts on all the prominent ones. I'm not active. Twitter, different story we can get into, but for me, that's the
I
only
know.
one
I
I
feel
use.
like you
Yeah,
view Twitter completely different.
yeah. I don't want to. I'll keep it brief on Twitter. Twitter honestly is the future because there you can't just pretend to be somebody else.
I love,
That's
I
not
love how
true. To say
definite
that
he
on
is.
Twitter you cannot pretend to be someone else. That is absolutely garbage for you
No,
to
no, no.
say
That's what I
that.
was saying. That you can't. You can't
That's what
pretend.
I'm saying.
Oh,
You
sorry.
can't
Yeah.
say that. That's not true.
Oh.
People could absolutely be
Oh.
someone else on
Mhm. I
Twitter.
see what you're saying. My take on that, right? To not be too specific about it, is that like you have to sort of, if you really want to survive on Twitter, you have to keep that same energy that you do online offline, because we know now by cancel culture and everything that if you said something 10 years ago when Twitter just started, you'd be in the fucking grinder talking about if you made a gay joke, a racist joke, an off-color joke, um, even if it.
That's what's the same for every platform. You did a video back then about making either a racist or homophobic or
Yeah.
whatever. Take
Do you
that
think
back.
that's okay? You seem to think like that's all right. Like they can pull up like a joke that you made 10 years ago on Twitter. Like some of these comics, made it's a joke. That's their job. They make jokes,
Mm-hmm.
and some people seem to think like it's okay for, oh, we're gonna cancel you and all the stupid bullshit that they
Mm-hmm.
do because of a joke that they made on a social media platform.
I don't think it's okay. I don't think it's okay at all. I think that um, you don't need a degree to be a comedian, but you do need some sort of notoriety as a comedian, from what I've learned. Um, because there are some comedians that can get away with their they're just witty about it. Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart. Um, I think, I guess, yeah. I guess those two are kind of like the main ones I can think of. I'm sure I'm sure there's someone out there who is better at it than, I mean, who is just as good as them. I'm just not at the top of my head. I can't think of any. Um, that can I don't want to say get away with those kinds of jokes, but they can make commentary on it and still not get that clapback, because they're like, oh, that's Dave Chappelle. We know he's just kidding. We know he's not saying that to be offensive. And if he is, then it's like, oh, it's cool because it's funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know it's offensive, but it's funny, and we're not gonna hold it against you. But if it's somebody who is not very popular, like if one of us after a while started just really, making jokes that are blatantly offensive, but to us we find like, oh, it's just him being him. Like, nobody else is gonna understand that. They're just gonna be like, oh, this guy is clearly. They're gonna take it out of context, and they're gonna be like, this guy is clearly a fucking homophobe, a racist, transphobe, whatever you want, whatever word they're throwing around nowadays, to belittle somebody. Yeah, that's just my take on that. Like, I don't think it's okay for somebody to be held accountable for something that they did 10 years ago, maybe last month, but I don't know what the statute of limitations is on when you start making offensive content to when you change, because
We're
people
just
do
making
change.
it up as we go.
Yeah, that is true. We're just making it up as we go. I do. People can change. I do think people can change, and
Yeah, and people can make jokes,
Mhm.
but some people just can't seem to some people just don't have a sense of humor at all and just think immediately, this person is racist, this person is sexist, this person's homophobic. It's like, you're actually the one that's being prejudiced
Mhm.
because you don't know this person, you don't know the context in which they're saying this
Mhm.
joke,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So
That. Mhm.
it's so fucking backwards, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. The documentary doesn't really touch on that, huh? It was really focused on just
I
the
don't know, I
be.
haven't seen it.
No, it's fine. Because they. That's why I called it what I did earlier. It's just they leaned so hard into the idea that there are these really bad people running these
Who made
companies.
this? Who's the director?
I think the one of the main producers on it, Tristan Harris, co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology. He's like the guy who was um who was spearheading the documentary. He started this company Center for
Are you
Humane.
saying that just because of the three people? That's where you get that from. It's the three individuals where it's the same person,
Mm-hmm.
but doing like the engineers who are
Mm-hmm.
doing the notification stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, do you say that there's? What are you saying that there was bad people
Mm-hmm.
that were
That they're like
like that's what
controlling. Mm-hmm.
essentially what they were. And I don't think they're bad people. I just think that's the way they make their money. I
Yeah,
mean, showing you ads is how they make their money.
correct. It is the ad revenue. The
Yeah, the amount of engagement that you have on a website, that's how you're gonna make money.
yeah, that's
I mean, you
why.
think
Mm-hmm.
about just like a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, YouTube has this thing where it's it per however amount of views you get and how many ever subscribers you have, that's how when you can start like making a certain amount of money,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the part of making money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think if anything, I didn't see the movie as they're like saying that, oh, these are the bad guys. They're just bringing awareness, like you should know that's what they're doing,
Yeah.
because most people didn't even know. What was it, like a year or 2 years ago, where at least I really started hearing about the advertisement that it's not like, I'm sorry if people don't know that, like, you're being recorded and you're being like your data is being just shared everywhere, then I don't know where you've been living. But okay, maybe it doesn't happen. But I was telling you, like, it happened to me this week. I had to buy a shock mount for this because it kept making noise every time I touched the microphone. So I had ordered one from Amazon, and then it kept telling me, like, it told me like 3 times it was going to be delayed, and you can cancel your order before it gets shipped, right? So I was like, maybe I should just cancel the order and see if they have it somewhere else. And I looked into 3 different places, but just being who I am, I got lazy and I'm just like, fuck it, I'll just wait. Um, so I just closed down the searches I was doing, and then I went to Instagram, and literally like it was 2 images on my feed about some other people, um, and then the next one was an advertisement for the shock mount I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hate that so much.
And I was like, you guys don't even make it subtle. Like,
Yeah.
you guys are you're not even trying anymore.
They're not trying to
In
hide
your
it. Yeah.
face, right
Yeah,
here.
it's just like, hey, we just recorded you looking through all this stuff. Is this what you're looking for? And it's like, you're not even trying. Like, try at least. I like the chase. I like to
At
play
least
the game a little bit.
court me a little bit.
Yeah,
You know.
don't treat me like a whore. But and it was funny to me because it's like, if people don't, and I think that's what the movie was trying to do. It was just make you aware,
Mm-hmm.
and less of like, because I would like to, get into, like, not get into, but at least hear your guys' thoughts on who is responsible. Obviously, you have this whole, David, you have this whole that the education system is the one to blame,
Mhm.
for everything. Uh, but yeah, like, who is to really blame for what's been going on? Like, what do you guys think? Who we should be putting this blame on?
Parents, man. Your parents aren't fucking whipping your ass when you do something wrong. So what are you gonna do? Spare the rod, spoil the child. I believe that's also in a good book, but it's actually not.
Yeah. Grinch, if you had seen that scene I mentioned with the little girl when she breaks the cookie jar, I gotta tell you,
Oh man,
We'll probably find it and put it on here, but it is absolutely fucking nuts.
bruh.
dude. Let me tell you. So I was in Florida last week, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm hanging out with my family, and they're all in the kitchen, and I kind of left, and I like to go to the bathroom or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I turned the corner, my sister made a joke, and instead of calling my dad, she used his first name,
Mm-hmm.
and I turned the corner with like my hand cocked back, like, what the fuck did you just say to him? Don't you fucking speak to him that way, like jokingly, obviously, but it's like you have once you have that like respect instilled in you, you're not gonna just like be a moron on the streets.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get it. I totally agree. Like, I think in like Hispanic families, I'm sure in most families, like the elders have that sense of respect. For me, like growing up in a Hispanic household, Mexican household at that, anytime if I was out of line, there was a weapon in my parents' hands, whether it had been
You know
their
what?
belt.
Let's stop trying to make it seem like the Mexican families are the most drastic and take the most like insane steps to like instilling discipline because you don't know. So stop saying, oh, especially in a Mexican house. Like you don't fucking know.
Yeah, it didn't work on me.
Who the hell knows what's going on in Poland or Finland? Maybe they're fucking beating the shit out of the kids with skillets. Who knows?
No,
You know what I mean?
in China they're just sending them off to
Yeah. Oh
concentration
god, in
camps.
China they just fucking send
Yeah,
them to death.
yeah, they send
They're
them to
like,
concentration camps and shit. Re-education camps. Re-education camps. You know what I'm saying? Large
I
air
was
quotes.
joking, but this guy goes like way off.
Sorry,
the
I
rails with
was.
this.
All right. Yeah, and so after a while, the documentary finally touched on the suicide rate amongst
It
young
was like
women.
halfway through.
It was halfway through. I was at the 40 minutes. Yeah. Because that was,
fact straight.
like I had mentioned earlier, it was the only time that the movie finally had hooked me in. Because it was talking about facts, numbers, and facts, no feelings. From 2008 to 2015, we had this huge uptick. They used percentages to say, to show amongst young women only, between 11 and 15, and then from 15 to 20-ish, how between that era, 2008 to 2015, the suicide rate had shot up. Prior to that, it was about young women who went to the hospital for self-harm. But it shows us that, well, what the documentary was saying was that there's these unrealistic standards of beauty and images and self-image amongst young women, and it affects them way more than it does men, right? Because it just
let me if the whole thing about like suicide and like the how they would like you cut yourself and all this shit, that I don't know where or what like my parents did, but I knew, and this is before social media, like I knew that this is not okay, because I have had friends that like did that. One of my best friend at the time, like in like sixth or seventh grade, whatever, he started doing that, and I didn't know. So I kind of just like went to school and I saw like these cuts on his arm. I was like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, nothing makes me feel good. I'm like, you're such a fucking idiot. What are you talking about? And then we started going back and forth. I'm like, how the fuck can you possibly think that this makes you feel good? It's bullshit. You're doing it for attention, and now you've got attention. So what do you want? It's like it's so ridiculous. I don't understand. What is it that's giving you these, as a kid of all things? Like, how could you be thinking that this is a route to take?
Well, I think it's different when we were kids than it is now, because
No, definitely, yeah. Obviously, there's different, ideas of social pressure for kids, but
I think that's what it comes to when it like that's the effect I think Jesus Christ, social networking has. It's that they constantly see what is perceived to be a certain way, and if they're not that way, and it can either be looks or the amount of stuff that they have or the places
right, and that's what drives my point home, is that it comes down to the parents, really, because if your parents can't like sit you down and explain to you that, okay, fine, well, little Billy Bob has more money because whatever, but like if you can't take time out of your day to talk to your kid and be like, this is why it's like this, it can be like this for you, whatever steps it takes. I don't have kids, you know what I mean?
Okay,
but
so
it's like,
I think it's harder too for like, I think I was blessed not to have any of this stuff in my life growing up, and it was more because I was telling David, like, on a normal day when I used to go to school, I would stop, or I would not see my mom from like anywhere from like 7 a.m. to probably nighttime.
7 p.m. Sure.
Yeah, let's just say that, and then I have to go to sleep. So it would just be dinner and go to sleep. That's when I would actually be like interacting with my mom. So that left a lot of time where I would not be with her. I would be, either at school or hanging out with friends or anything else, right? To where, thankfully, social media wasn't a thing back then, so I didn't really check anything. I didn't have anything to check. Where I didn't grow up with this notion of what's the self-worth through somebody else's eyes.
I think what the thing is I don't get is what could a kid have to check? Like you're not fucking,
Well, that's the crazy thing. You would think that they would have nothing to check. That's the way I see it. Is like at that age, what are you
looking at? Like, what are you so envious of? Oh, like you went home and Jimmy went home. Jimmy got McDonald's, but you couldn't, and now your life is falling apart. Like,
but I think
seriously?
our lives are completely different now. Or like kids' life are different now that they are when we were kids.
I mean, unless you just don't buy them the stuff, and then when they get home from school after they're done with their homework, just throw them outside, take them by the shirt, throw them outside, and be like, go fucking play, you little shit.
Because you look at the the number one star on TikTok is like 16 years old. To me, that's
insane. That's
crazy.
That's ridiculous. Why?
They would have had to start early on to even get that fan base. It's not like it happened overnight.
Why are they popular? What do they do?
Is it a young girl?
It's funny because she does. Yeah,
Oh,
she does. It's a female. She does. Not that it. To me, it has nothing whether it's a female or guy.
It's important to David. Okay.
Yeah, apparently. But she really does like, I guess those TikTok, those small dancing videos.
Oh.
Which is hilarious because if you look at once you've seen 5, you essentially have seen all of them. They do the same exact dance move for almost every song. They just do it on popular songs, and it really goes into. I have the number one viewed that got the not most viewed, but I think the most liked. Not even from her, it was from another user, which broke the record for how many likes a TikTok video had. It's the girl. I don't know if you guys seen her. It's the one that does the whole shaking the head and just going to the beat. That's it. That was the video that got the most. And I looked at this and I was like, I'm not saying it's not good, but to be the most liked.
What do you mean shaking your head like side to side whenever the beat would drop?
Yeah. I'll send you, or
don't
maybe put it up here.
Don't.
I want you to know what I'm talking about.
I'm not gonna watch it.
Because I would like you to see exactly what, like, to me, there is nothing substantially special about that. There is no.
If it's the way that I'm picturing it in my head, it's got to be the most pointless shit that I would ever see in my life. That anytime the beat drops, she just shakes her head side to side.
Yeah, my cousin. She was telling me because she uses TikTok but not to post anything as far as I know. She was showing it to me, right, the app, and how easy it is to use it with one hand, and like how easy it is to just immediately upload and record. She was showing me other TikTokers who are popular and what they do to create content, and a lot of what I saw was just like short dancing or montages. And for one thing, I got to give credit to these young people, to Gen Z.
Absolutely.
I got to give credit to them for understanding the value in these short burst videos, right? Because people are hitting the snooze button faster than ever now. Like a 30.
Sure, but you can attribute that to their own short attention spans.
That too. I think like a lot of that has to do
knowing your audience.
Yeah, a lot of that too. Something I learned in film, when I was learning cinematography and stuff like that, in filmmaking. Many of our assignments were like, what can you do with the least amount of equipment that you have? And it's like, submit, a 1 to 2 minute video of you doing something. 1 to 2 minutes is a long time to get something across, in my opinion, right? Because like you can do a lot with a 30-second clip to 2 minutes. And I see it. I'm like, damn, like I'm low-key impressed because I grew up liking making videos, and I never, because I wasn't into social media like that, I never took the time to do it. And I'm not saying that I would have blown up or anything, but the concept that what people don't really critically think about is that your attention is being held onto by these underage children doing ridiculous things.
This is
the thing.
Waters are getting murky.
It is getting murky because there's a scene in Cuties where the
Nope.
director.
Nope. I don't want to hear it. I will fucking
It's,
leave.
it's brief. In the movie, in the documentary, do you remember the little girl, after she took the phone from the cookie jar, goes upstairs and takes a photo of herself for Instagram, right? It's for Instagram, and like she tries to do it all
Is it a
cute.
picture of her parents beating the shit out of her?
No, she wouldn't have been able to hold the phone. No, she takes a picture of herself, and then sees that nobody's liking it, if I remember correctly.
Perfect.
She then retakes
Justice.
it with a filter on. These filters, very dangerous in my opinion, made her look. They added like a couple years to her age. They added makeup. It made her skin look clear. It made her look more attractive. It was that was a very tasteful way of doing it.
I think they did a good job in that because then the next scene with her was her looking at herself in the mirror.
Correct.
And that's the whole self-image and how you perceive yourself, and letting an audience and the public tell you what they think you should look like. And that's what she was doing in the mirror, questioning why
she has, yeah.
You know, why she looks the way she looks, and obviously she was getting more likes looking another way.
Yeah, they were making fun of her ears or whatever, so she used her hair to cover them, and she took another photo. That happens a lot, where you are I think it's really it sucks for Gen Z because they're sacrificing themselves for us who are gonna grow up into this new era of social media where you have young kids putting everything they do online. Like, they're essentially recording their moment of birth, which is, and this is unironic to think about, because you have your parents who, let's say, were Gen Z, right, or a millennial, who will grow up recording every single moment of your life up until you get your own smartphone, if you really think about it, right? Because before, people took a photo and it meant something. They're like, oh, let's take a photo, put it in the photo album, and then pull it out ever so often when you're showing family and friends. Now it's like, oh, look, I've got pictures of my baby. I've got one picture of him every year. You get your own smartphone, and then you start taking charge of your own online personality. I think that's really interesting, because I've heard about these kinds of experiments where people, where universities have taken experiments where they record somebody's life from birth through adulthood.
What are you talking about? The Truman Show, for Christ's sake? What is going on?
No, that's a good one. But no, it's something like that. Essentially, it's kind of like the Truman Show. Like, they're
horrible.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. They were like, I forgot what they were trying to figure out, but they do that. Anyways,
how fucked up they can be in their research. Why would you?
I forgot what the research was for, but but it's happening now. You are recording your whole life through social media, and the next generation.
The high points of your life.
It's weird because we have a friend who essentially just records everything. Like, it just takes. You and I.
Definitely not me.
You and I.
You and I?
Okay.
You and I,
yeah. We have a friend who likes to record everything, right? And every.
Go ahead. No.
Our only friend in common, our main friend in common. Well, she does that. She kind of does that a little bit sometimes.
Pretty sad.
It's
if
not.
you guys share me, if you guys off mic, if you guys share me this, I'll be sure to I'll write in her comments, like, this is sad. Next time she posts something, why are you recording this? Next video, stop doing this.
Individuals get, a sense of self gratification for doing these kind of things. That's how they feel good about themselves.
Is that
and
weird?
I think everybody has their own way of doing it, but if they feel, I also have never liked I feel bad for no one showing up to my funeral. But if they would put something up for my funeral,
that's very true.
Had to put pictures. I don't have it. Only the ones that I've been forced to partake in. I'm not a big fan of taking pictures. But
it's a little bit different. I mean, it's not like you're the most pleasant person to look at. You know what I mean?
I'm just gonna ignore that. that's getting edited out. So it was the same reason like
Keep
David had
that
said,
in.
like
I
about
know.
like seeing the world through a lens by seeing it through your own eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And kind of like the the last point that I kind of wanted to get into was, do you think, because the documentary ended in an optimistic way and saying, oh, some people saying, oh, it will get better, some saying, oh, it has to get better. Do you think this is gonna, with Gen Z, the way you said it, sacrificing themselves for our benefit so that we can see the harms that this bring, that potentially can bring? Do you
Have already.
think
Mm-hmm.
it'll get better?
Do I think it'll get better? I do not think it'll get better. I honestly think it's going to get slightly worse before. I think like the millennials, like the tail end of millennials, and the Gen Zers. I think they and the tail end of millennials are going to see a collapse in this sort of movement. They're going to see a collapse in people who use social media as like their whole life, um, because I think we're going to regress to a point where it's like, oh, you use social media, like, this is just what I think like we'll get to a point where people are not going to follow each other on social media anymore. We're going to start asking for numbers again. Like, I think that's where it'll be eventually. Like,
What?
you know how people have LinkedIn, like professional profiles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nobody uses LinkedIn.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's supposed to be the platform for professionals who meet other professionals. It's like, yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you like? That's just me, because I've only used it once, and I see it as like,
I just didn't didn't
like
answer
if there
my.
was a professional, no, that if there was a professional way of being on social media, I think LinkedIn tried to do that. Um, but uh, I don't think it'll get better. I don't think it'll get better. I think like we're gonna
Wait, hold
see.
on. Now you're contradicting yourself. You said it was going to get better because people are going to start going back into their phone numbers, but now you're saying it's not going to get better.
And okay, it won't get better in the near future, but
Mm-hmm.
after we see like the collapse of Gen Z, right? Which is not going to be for a while because they're going to grow up, have kids,
What
document
is this collapse though? What?
Yeah. Are you planning
collapse.
on
Yeah.
smiting them?
No. I believe that there's going to be like this
You called
cultural.
yourself a prophet earlier.
I know, right? There's going to be this cultural collapse in the social media world um, where everybody will see, like, there's going to be like this woke movement. They're like, oh, don't use your social media anymore like the way you used to. We're not the same people our parents were. All they did was take pictures of their food. All they did was fucking do weird TikTok videos. Nah,
You
we
know how
should.
that's going to end up?
How?
It's going to be the same thing as when they tried to protest football. It's like nobody.
When Colin
Yeah,
Kaepernick did it at
you're going
first?
to lose.
Yeah.
You're going to lose a lot of viewers for a bit, but
Yeah.
the real fans, they're still going to watch the game because they
Mm-hmm.
don't give a fuck about whatever else is going on. Like, I'm here for the game, not whatever bullshit politics you're trying to fucking talk about, you know?
Yeah, like this documentary. That's why
And then
it's.
yeah, but then it'll fizzle out,
Mm-hmm.
things will go back to normal, and then there you go, things will just be how they were.
Yeah. Um. What's his name? The revolution would not be televised, or what does it say? How does that saying go? It'll be live.
Anyways,
Yeah.
like Grinch, what do you think?
About what?
Well, the whole question. Well, I don't think you see it as a. Do you see it as an issue?
I mean, I definitely think it's an issue, but for me, I bring it all down to individual. It's down to the individual. If you can find a way to capitalize on it and make money, great. If you can't, for whatever reason, tear yourself away, you got to figure something out. Because it's like, if you can't help someone that doesn't want to help themselves, and it's not like we're the only ones that are talking about the social media issue. It's just the people that don't think they have a problem don't want help. So there's only so much you can do. There's only so many things you can say and so many examples you can give before either they realize it and say, hey, all right, let me back off of this a little bit, or they just, I guess, maybe lose themselves in it and don't realize that, you know, your life is passing you by.
Yeah, that's one of the
You
big
think
points.
it's essentially here to stay, though?
Yeah, it's not going to go away. I don't think so.
You, Rick?
If anything does happen, people hopefully will just dial it down a little bit. You're still gonna have these fucking, you know, these circus clowns that are posting their old travel photos and all this shit like that nobody actually cares about, but their family and like close friends will hit that like button because they know, oh, you're just doing this for self gratification. There you go.
Smashing that like button.
Yeah, I won't. Or I'll throw on a nice little. I haven't done it in a while, but you know, maybe, you know, I'll see something like our mutual friend who will remain nameless will post some stupid shit. I won't maybe do it to his social media, but he's gonna hear about it in real life.
Oh yes.
Fucking idiot. I've told him on many occasions, you know. It's
Yeah.
like, just stop it. It's just not getting through to him. He thinks he's killing it. So you know what? All right, go ahead.
I kind of want to do that on Instagram. Like all the people I followed through high school, I just want to use my gut reaction and just type what I really think when I see this photo.
You gotta go with it. It's great.
Honestly,
it's so much
like,
fun.
I can't do that on Twitter though. Twitter's a different place. You gotta censor yourself.
It's been very.
definitely
We get that you have this weird connection
Yeah,
with
you
Twitter
have,
that
like,
you
this,
think
like,
it's the
if
safe
you're
space for social media.
endorsed by, like, they're your sponsor or something. They're the same.
Are they a
if not
sponsor?
Worse.
Twitter,
Oh, dude.
Jack Dorsey,
Absolutely.
Cash App. Thank you.
Are they
Rick,
a sponsor?
Rick, can you just what are your final thoughts about social media and the things that
Well, it's definitely here to stay.
Mhm,
You gotta think that how people are making their money nowadays, and that's exactly how it is. Like, I would love to be on the side of, like, oh, just ban the whole entire thing, but there are also a lot of people that I support that are using, like, they have to use it because you think about social.
It's good for marketing yourself, marketing your own thing. You know.
Yeah, but like you think of like comedians, because I follow a lot of comedians, and I just bought a special the other day because, you know, they can't go to clubs right now and perform.
Wait,
so
who's special? Don't glaze over that. Who are we talking about?
Tony Baker. I'm a huge fan of Tony Baker. I think
I
he's
don't think I've
hilarious.
heard any of this stuff.
And I just bought a special, and I was like, usually I don't buy those kind of things, but I was like, this is right now how they're making their money, because they're not able to perform, and they actually found a way to do. It's called the social distancing comedy. It's a couple comedians that found a way to do it. Like they rented a space, and it's outside, and they're performing I think it's every Friday, and they're just like, you buy the link essentially, and then you get to watch it live. So to most of them, they're like, I would prefer obviously a crowd, because it's hard to perform when there's no crowd, because you don't get that feedback whether a joke hit or not, and how much time to let in between. But they're like, this is better than not doing it. Yeah, because they're like, that's their passion, and for them to not have that, it puts them in a really bad spot, both just financially and
Mentally.
Yeah, it's something that it's been taken away from them. So in those situations, absolutely, I'm like, I like their stuff, I fucking buy their stuff, I buy their merch, because I was like, this is the way, until things get back to normal, is the way they're making their living and able to provide content to people. And I think especially right now, where we don't know where we're going in the world, except for LA and like Florida, that just both have made up their mind that it doesn't exist and will continue to do whatever they want. We don't know where the world's going. And
Why
there's a
are
lot
you
of
speaking
people
on behalf of Florida? You're not a resident.
he's not a gator,
I'm also not a resident of LA.
and not at the moment.
What?
So I can speak
What's to
about
say
what I
about
choose.
LA? What you think LA decided that this doesn't exist?
Oh, you should see the
I
beaches.
wish they would.
Absolutely.
And I can actually fucking go to class instead of doing online all the fucking time. I
True.
wish that's how they did it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, You were saying?
But yeah, it's I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's here to stay.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're gonna create more platforms then. We're gonna
Yeah.
take advantage of it.
We will. Yes, we will. On a positive note, I yeah, I do think like there's so much good that's come out. People can communicate with their families across the world. They can keep up with each other. They're able to share some incredible work. There's some incredible people online who share their journey with other humans on the internet, and I think they are like they've truly used it in a manner that is healthy, productive, and what it was intended for. You know, as a tool to help the betterment of the human condition, right? Not to make us stick our faces in our phone. Um, some of the things that we obviously didn't cover, um, some of the more like I would say critical stuff that is still very important because social media has become an integral part of our lives is the difference between censorship and freedom of speech on these platforms. Also, how does one educate our politicians about the ever evolving, um, landscape that we call the social media?
And I
Uh,
don't think that's our responsibility to be doing that.
I disagree, but
That's not
uh-huh.
that's not our responsibility to be telling politicians how to better use this tool. That's on
Mhm.
them to use it as they just like I would use social media to market myself.
Yeah, I
That
think
is not
mhm.
something that I should be worried about as an individual. But like, oh, I think it's more important to for us to think how do we educate our
Selves.
um, not only ourselves but our children.
Hmm.
Vice, oh, let me worry about this politician and see how I can better help them.
Yeah, I think it's changing a little bit with the new representative AOC, Alexandria. She uses social media a lot and is
But that's not new that they people like politicians use social media. It just
no,
became president.
it's just that she's a young person, like she's in our age
That
group.
doesn't at all matter.
No,
A
I
lot
think it
of their
does.
age do.
Um,
No,
because
they have people who market for them,
no, I'm not
campaign for them. So it's
right.
not like, oh, she's young, so she knows better than like they have people that run their campaigns.
Sure, I'm not saying that she's free from the mistakes that people make on social media. I just think that politicians should be more open since they have the tools at their disposal to connect with their constituents. And I do believe that it's more important for them to not be those kinds of people who just mute every single reply or block every single person. I can understand if you're being harassed, you're being attacked um, in some way, then yeah, you can do that. But as a politician, I believe you should be very open minded. Also, what else? Our digital consciousness. How much of it are we protecting really? How much of it are we willing to give up so that we have the privileges to use these social media apps? And um, how long can we go? Actually, can we survive without social media? Can you delete your phone? Can you delete those apps off your phone and
No, we
just?
can't. That's what I'm saying. This is not going to get
Mhm.
better. There's no way we can do that. You can ban all the apps. You can delete all the apps. There will only be another version that comes out of it.
Mhm.
Once you
And
have introduced it to the world, there is no taking it off
yeah,
the
yeah,
table.
definitely, definitely. I do also believe that. Because like I mentioned a couple days ago when I was telling you, like, if we're already talking about it, it's probably too late. If we're having a conversation about this and that, it's probably too late. Probably. Um, yeah, and that's really, really some of the things that I thought um, we didn't get into too much, but we're there. Anything else that I missed, Rick, or anything else that you want to bring up before we close off, before we sign off?
Nope, that's essentially it. So, thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, I don't know why you would. But don't forget to subscribe and leave us a comment. Tell us if we're we know David's wrong, but I'm more interested in to hear whether what do you think about Grinch's eye opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been West Coast Flagrancy, and we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.